Krovan back with Trisbic once more for the Legiunea Romana versus Dead Terrorists fight, and unfortunately for CCP tier, neither team has brought Drakes, as Legiunea Romana, for the third time in a row, has brought two Maelstroms, an Abaddon, two Dominics, Ishkur, Stiletto, and a Tyrannus.
And for the Dead Terrorist team, we have a Loki, a Rattlesnake, Vulture, two Sleipnirs, Scimitar, and Crow.
You know, we've seen Dead Terrorists bring rattlesnakes before, and as last time, I suspect this is going to be a Torp rattlesnake, as it is about 0 kilometers to the beacon. In fact, all of the Legiunea Romana battleships are at 0, as well as about half of the Dead Terrorist ships. Both Sleipnirs, the Rattlesnake, and the Vulture. And we have the countdown in local just about ready, and the match is go.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of hurt flying around there at the beacon. Dominix is dropping drones immediately. Battleships, I'm sure, locking each other up as we speak.
The Dominics seem to have dropped bouncers, which is an interesting choice when your opponent is 6 inches from you, but we'll see how it works out for him.
And they're going immediately after the Dead Terrorist Scimitar, who is pretty much through shields now, armor dropping very quickly. He'll be going down momentarily, and there he goes.
Yeah, he didn't talk fast enough, evidently, but at the same time, the first Maelstrom for Legiunea Romana also threw shields. That Rattlesnake is using torpedoes like a good boy, and that Maelstrom taking quite a bit of hurt here.
Yeah, that Maelstrom dropping into armor. I assume he has a local tank. He is repping shields, and the Maelstrom does get a bonus to shield rep amount.
Absolutely,
but it looks like it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, that is exactly what he's doing. He is locally actively shield tanked, and now we're seeing that the EVTV viewer count has in fact gone over 9,000. The Maelstrom now is down. The Rattlesnake for Dead Terrorist is also, he's down to about half shields now. Of course, those Dommies heavily, they do have guns fitted, but are heavily nuding as well, and it's maybe having a toll here on this Rattlesnake, but it's hard to tell exactly what's fitted on there. But if that Rattlesnake goes down, I may shed a tear.
Yes, we will all shed a single tear. The Dead Terrorist team now focusing on that second Maelstrom. He's still shield repping a little bit, but that DT team putting out a lot of damage.
Yeah, well, and what's happening now, I mean, the only frigate left that I'm able to see for Legiunea Romana is their Ishkur. So, and Sleipnirs are capable of a fair bit of speed, so if they take that Ishkur down, it's possible that the remaining ships could zip around quickly enough to still do a significant amount of damage. As now that Rattlesnake is about to go, and it is down, but at the same time, the second Maelstrom for Legiunea Romana, in very deep trouble, has a sliver of nothing. Has a sliver of debris on the field. So those battleships going down almost simultaneously now. So you've got the Ishkur, Abaddon, and two Dominixes left against the three command ships and the Loki. This is going to be a very interesting fight as we come down to it here.
Yeah, we'll see how those remaining Roman Legion, I'm going to call them that so I don't butcher the name, battleships are fit, because if these remaining Dead Terrorist ships can get in under their tracking, they may have a good chance of taking them out.
Yeah, well, and you know, as I was talking about the Sleipnirs being able to move around, I looked at the Sleipnir now that's taking all the shield damage, and he was actually sitting stationary on the nose of one of the Dominixes. But now that he's gotten out of out of there and is able to build some transversal, he's stopped taking damage entirely, as now they're beating through the armor of one of these Dominixes here. The second Sleipnir is sitting right on top of him and just pummeling him at very short range here, and it's dropping through armor very quickly now.
Yeah, that Sleipnir for Dead Terrorist now into armor. He's being like triple target painted. He did a good job of beating that transversal for a little while, but it looks like they're going to take him out momentarily here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he changed directions, or, well, doesn't matter because down he goes. But at the same time, that first Dominix is into structure for Legiunea Romana. So again, both teams going tit for tat here, and it's I'm seeing hardeners, but I'm not seeing any rep effects on this Dominix right now. So he was just kind of a big floating neutralizing brick out there, and once they take him down, it's going to make it a little bit easier for these Sleipnirs to keep speed. It's possible that Sleipnir just ran out of cap from being nuded into oblivion by these Dommies.
Nuded, having to run, yeah, a lot of cap probably going away as he was trying to get out of range. Also, I think it's a good call, certainly a good call by Dead Terrace to go after these Dominics first, given that it's going to be much easier to beat the tracking on the Abaddon, given that it won't be having sentries covering it, and you'll just have to worry about the guns.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you know, Sleipnir is capable of moving along at a pretty good clip, though now we're seeing Twilight Madcat in that second Sleipnir. He's lost most of his shields, down to about 15% now. Meanwhile, that second Dami for Legiunea Romana is hitting armor, and it has gone through about 25% of it at this point. It's going to be a question of whether or not Twilight Madcat is able to keep up enough transversal to avoid a lot of the damage, and actually it looks like he's going at about 85. No, okay, now he's back to 100 meters a second, so that's a slight improvement. But if he can't keep that speed up, it's going to be a rough time of it with the Abaddon right there. But and as well as the capability of the Dami to launch not sentries.
Yes, quite true. They cannot launch sentries. That Sleipnir for Dead Terrace now going into armor, he turned around, ran right back into the Dominics, which may not have been the best tactical decision.
I think that is a very astute observation. And we have... did we lose somebody else there? No, I think I just may have just seen a rogue explosion there. But we're seeing the Dominics now and the Sleipnir both into structure to see who's going to go down first. It may make a difference in who wins this match, who's able to put that extra little bit of DPS on their opponent, and it looks like it's the Dominics. Dominics is the winner of the Who Dies First contest, followed shortly by the Sleipnir. So you've got an Abaddon and an Ishkur up against a Vulture and a Loki to decide who goes on to the round of 8 in this tournament.
Yeah, and that I'd imagine that Vulture, even if it could be blaster fit. I'm going to try to take a look at it here, but it's not going to be a monster DPS ship. Looks like it may not have any guns on it at all. The Loki, I'm sure, going to be flying around and just lighting everything up with those autocannons as it takes out the Roman Legion Ishkur very handily.
You know, I think this Vulture may have nukes on it. I think it may, which is actually not a bad tactic at all to use against an Abaddon. The Abaddon is now firing on that Vulture. That Vulture is at close range, but not taking just a ton of damage, despite the Abaddon appearing to use high damage crystals here. Now that Loki is able to come back and focus its damage onto the Abaddon, and I think Legiunea Romana, bringing the same battleship setup for the third time running here, they may be in a bit of trouble against this Loki and the Vulture remaining here.
Yeah, it certainly looks like that Abaddon having trouble hitting the remaining Dead Terrorist ships.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, the Abaddon is capable of a quite large buffer tank, as we've seen before, and as you see quite a bit out in the wild on TQ. But you know, it's unlikely that it would go to time based on that. I certainly hope not. I don't think I could fill that much air, despite what others might think. But now it looks like the Abaddon has switched targets possibly to the Loki. Hard to tell because he's not firing at the moment.
Yeah, given the range that these two Dead Terrorist ships are at on this Abaddon, I don't think it's really going to matter who he's shooting at.
Yeah, well, it's obviously going to be... Yeah, he is shooting the Loki. Interesting choice, given that the Minmatar ships do have a better EM thermal resist, but obviously the damage, as you said, I think all the damage is probably coming from that Loki, maybe a little bit off the Vulture, but the Loki is the danger here.
Yeah, and that Loki is doing a good job chewing away at that Abaddon's armor. It's going to be slow going just because that Abaddon can field a monster tank. It gets armor resist bonuses. I'd imagine the lows are just completely full of tanking mods.
Absolutely, maybe a heat sink here or there if he's feeling a little bit dangerous. But it's it'll be a little bit disappointing if something doesn't happen and this Loki continues to run around with impunity, because I was really happy to see. I like battleships, and I really like Dominixes, and it was really good to see a team that brought Dominixes doing well. They basically brought 5 battleships to a match and dared someone to stop them. And unfortunately for them, it looks like Dead Terrorists have taken that dare and are going to be able to do it, as that Loki not taking any significant damage at this point. The Abaddon's webbed down, not firing terribly regularly anymore, and slowly losing those armor hit points.
Yeah, I'd imagine between the tracking issues and the newts coming off of that Vulture, he's having some trouble keeping that ship in good running order right now. And even given that Roman Legion brought these same battleships to 3 matches now, they are very dangerous ships. I mean, it's not a team that's a real gimmick team. It's a damage team.
Yeah, no, I mean, in all three of those ships, another interesting, thing here is that you look at the Dominics, the Ishkur, the Stiletto, those are all nice utility ships. I mean, obviously they're going to have their core roles. The Dominics does a lot of drone damage, can do some turret damage if you want. Maelstrom and Abaddon both capable of doing quite a bit of damage as well with all those turret slots, but at the same time, you've got a fair number of mid slots, especially on their choice of frigates and on the Dominics. Dominics with 5 mid slots. If you choose to come in at the center of the arena, you may not have to fit a propulsion mod, or may feel like you don't have to fit a propulsion mod, and you can do all kinds of craziness in those mid slots. Not sure exactly how those were fit, as now we're seeing that Abaddon, he's dipping below 50% armor now, seems to have switched back to the Vulture perhaps, but it looks like it's going to be too little too late.
Yeah, that Abaddon is running an active local tank, but it doesn't seem to be enough to beat the Loki's damage, as it has been dropping consistently this entire time.
Yeah, no, the Loki hasn't had much trouble beating down the tank here, and we're not seeing the Newt animations that we were seeing anymore, so maybe it's because that Vulture thinks that its cap is better spent elsewhere, not entirely sure. But he is taking a little bit of fire, but it's not going to be nearly enough, not nearly fast enough. Unlike some of the buffer ships we've seen before, this Vulture may well have some recharge rigs, recharge mods, things like that to enable him to bring those shields back by himself without any real trouble.
Yeah, those Vultures can field a serious shield tank. It looked like he started newting again for a little bit. He may be capping himself out also.
Right. It is entirely, if he's entirely passive, well, he's not entirely passive because I think I saw shield hardeners, but if he's mostly passive on that tank, he can afford to just about cap himself out because missiles obviously don't use any capacitor to fire. And a passive tank is, by nature of being passive, it doesn't require any capacitor either. And that Abaddon being slowly chewed through, he might have had time to self-destruct. It might have ended a little bit quicker if he'd managed that.
Would have been an interesting way to go.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, he's chosen not to do that. He's chosen to go down shooting, which is honestly not a bad way to go. I mean, Legiunea Romana, despite going out in this match, has had a good go of it this time around. Has brought some good setups. They started off with kind of a more traditional Rook, Nighthawk, Scimitar-based setup, but at the same time, then they switched over to this 5 battleship setup, decided, hey, this is good, this is what we're going to run with, and, maybe if they'd gotten to the next round, we'd have seen something different, maybe not, but it was a good showing all the same, and we do apologize for the horrendous butchering of your alliance name throughout the tournament, but, well, most of us are ignorant Americans, so what can we say?
This is true. Yeah, I mean, if you look back at the Roman Legion's record for this tournament, they've only had 1 loss. They're coming into this 2-1, and that 1 loss was against the wrong alliance, who are also here in the finals, so they've definitely had a good showing.
Exactly. Wrong Alliance has had a good showing of it. Let's see, who they took out 4th District in the last round, who also looked rather strong. So I think they can go home proud of this one. I definitely think that they've represented themselves well, and would look forward to seeing them in the future, honestly. So we're just about to run out of armor on this Abaddon, and then it should be a quick trip home for him. And it'll be Dead Terrorists moving on. What do you think? You think we'll see more rattlesnakes if they move on?
I hope so. I hope so. You don't see very many rattlesnakes really anywhere in EVE, and just they've been very effective in their use, the Dead Terrorists, and I would love to see more of them.
I love rattlesnakes. I love faction ships in general. Unfortunately, they're still a little pricey these days, and only getting more so, it seems. So. Yeah. But anybody got a spare Vindicator lying around, then feel free to chuck it my way. As we're watching this Abaddon now, he's got a little bit of structure damage, and we'll be going down, sometime mid-afternoon.
Yeah, perhaps. We'll go take our lunch break.
I'll tell you
come
what,
back
yeah,
and
we're gonna go get something to drink. You guys just stay cool and
talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves. We'll give you a topic. Drakes are awful unless they have hams fitted.
Drakes, neither a drake nor an island.
See, this is what happens when you fit Uber tank setups.
Yep.
Though we have seen some teams do reasonably well with laser-based battleships. Obviously, I'm not sure, I can't remember offhand who it was. Somebody brought 2 Geddons and a Redeemer yesterday, and it looked pretty good, but the Abaddon, oh, okay, good. The Concord official clock, 1 minute 15 seconds. So now it's a race against the clock. Now it's exciting again, as the Abaddon's down to about 50% structure. We're nearing 1 minute left in the match. Can they take him down? Will they ransom him? Will they have time to loot all of the wrecks on the grid before the Concord clock runs out? Let's find out. As we hit the 1 minute mark, we're down to about 15% structure, and it looks like they will meet the challenge and bring down the Abaddon with plenty of time to spare. So Dead Terrorist moves on at the expense of Legiunea Romana, despite a great showing there. And with that, we will hand it back to CCP Soundwave in the studio.